Houston, say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, and welcome you all to yet another Friday vlog of mine. It has been 2 weeks, people, 2 whole weeks without anything from me. I know, you must be missing me by now. But I did pre-warn you that my son was coming to see me, Aaron Brew, as he's known on the channel. Flagons up to you all! Ooh, I'm going to have a sip of this before we get going. We've got a few things to talk about, gaming-wise, and, well, it's all positive, really, apart from the delays. You know, we'll get there. We'll get to them at the end, will we? You know I'd buy you one, people. You know I would. Right, so what's my gaming week has, well, my gaming 2 weeks has consisted mainly of finishing, or I said in the last vlog, finishing off Gears 5, and I didn't play anything in the run-up to Aaron coming, but I knew that he had in his mind that he wanted to get stuck into Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and I did mention in the vlog before he came that we might record some stuff together for the channel like we did with Sekiro. Now, we decided not to do that because we had limited time, and we wanted to, well, the goal was either to get me to finish Bloodborne or get me to finish Dark Souls. And we made the decision to do Dark Souls. But the thing is, with these games, we all know that as from a recording perspective, they can be quite painful because nobody wants to see the 25 runs to the boss and all that sort of thing. So I didn't want my time with Aaron to become a big editing session of me trying to put all the videos together. And it was just easier to just sit and enjoy as best you can with a Souls game. The actual process of just playing the game. Now, as it happens, I've talked to you guys already. I had a playthrough on the channel, which I may still go back to and continue for the sake of it, which was just as the second bell was rung and Sen's Fortress was open. No, just before the second bell was rung, I was due to fight the fire spider demon thing, and so that I could ring the second bell to get into Sen's Fortress, but I think I failed in that particular fight, and then I didn't get back to redoing it. So that save is still there. The save that I continued when Aaron came was the... Was it the same? Well, I'd opened Sen's Fortress effectively, and that's exactly where I was when he arrived. So when he arrived, I said, look, let's do Dark Souls, not Bloodborne, because I've still got a decent save with Bloodborne. But anyway, I was in the mood for Dark Souls more than Bloodborne. And so that's what we did. And we cracked straight into where I was. So basically from Sen's Fortress all the way to the end. Now I say we played it, I played it. So it's props to me. I finished the game by myself. And the only thing that Aaron really did was a couple of runbacks to bosses if I failed, just so that I could have a bit of a break. So he didn't do anything for me. The only boss that he did was a boss that I think I only tried it once. I might have tried it twice. And it's an optional boss, and I'm going to get the names confused. I think it was Gwendolyn. One of them, one is the end boss, and the other one's not. But I think it was Gwyn or Gwendolyn, one or the other. It's a boss fight in a long corridor, and it's got loads of sort of wall pillar type things after each window that you can use to sort of tuck yourself behind, and it just keeps firing shit at you. And he had never, in his playthroughs, he'd finished it already on his, he'd never actually tried to fight that boss, so I gave him a shot, and he did it, I think he did it for second time, So I had a couple of shots, he had a couple of shots, and he did it on his. But every other boss, every other part of the game was all me, so I finished the game as me. There was no help, people, other than, I mean, the one thing Aaron gave me was guidance so far as where to go next. So I suppose, you know, from that perspective, it just speeded things up more than it did anything else. And we did really well. I managed to level up all the flask level ups that you can. I think +5 is as max as you can go, I think, in one playthrough. And we got the Claymore to +15 because we managed to get the Ember for taking it up from 10 onward, which wasn't a particularly easy Ember. It was... I'm trying to remember now. I think it was in the bit where you go down... Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was in the bit where you go down and you have to fight the spirits. You've got to use your not alluring skulls. What are they called? There's a thing you have to use so that you can hit ghosts. And it was that section, and it's sort of filled with water, and there's loads. It's quite a cool little area, actually. And I'm sure the Ember was down there somewhere. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we spent a while him looking around, going, I think I remember where it was, that sort of thing. So there was little things like that he kind of guided me towards as well. So it was quite nice having him there as a, you know what I'm like, people. I've got the memory of a goldfish. If I run through an area 5 times, you're lucky if I can remember anything of it. So it was quite nice from that perspective to have that sat-nav, Aaron Nav, to tell me where to go next. But I finished it, people. I finished it. And there were some cracking bosses in there, and some of them took me a few attempts. The two that I mean, to be fair, there was some that I absolutely hammered. I mean, I destroyed them. There was 2 tough ones. One was the end boss, and the other one was the boss fight at the end of Anor. And that was the boss fight with there was 2 guys you've got to fight at the same time. One of them's got lightning ability, and one of them's slower with a big hammer. And then, I did it in the way that I took down the... Well, I took old Sunlight, what's his face, in with me. So I summoned him in, and... Yeah, I summoned him in. I'm trying to remember how many times it took me. It didn't take me as many times as we thought it was going to take. I think it was about five attempts, maybe 6 attempts, something like that. It wasn't too ridiculous anyway. But we had plenty of humanity. We were able to summon... Why am I forgetting his name? I've summoned him 100 times. Anyway, the Lord, Mr. Sunshine, with the helmet and the sun on his shirt, he came in with me, and he was brilliant because he helped sort of divide the 2 of them. And in the way that I did it was I took down the lightning guy first, at which point the hammer guy smashes his hammer into him when he's dead on the floor and soaks up all of his lightning power. I don't know how it would work if you did it the other way around. Maybe someone can tell me how that works. You know, what happens, maybe if I kill the slow guy, the other guy will smash him and he'll become really slow and easy to beat. I mean, to be fair, the hammer guy, although he was slow, he had a charge move, which was really frustrating. But anyway, that's how I did it in the end. I took the lightning guy down first, and then took the hammer guy down. And old Lord, what's his face, Sunshine, he did all right. I mean, he lasted to a fair bit of the hammer guy as well. In fact, no, I think I finished it with him alive. I've got a weird feeling that I might have finished it with him alive. And at some point, I mean, I'm going to be talking about the end of Dark Souls here, so if you haven't played it, you might want to switch off, because I will spoil a few things, I'm sure. Spoiler alert! And the other bosses, I mean, the 2 standouts, I'm trying to remember, other than the corridor fight with the optional boss, and I went into the lava area where the spider was, but the thing is, if you activate that big sort of lava demon thing, you just have to run back to the gate where you ran in and just stand there, and eventually you can I think he just trips over and you can just kill him, which is what I did. I just kept hammering him until he vanished. But the standout ones were the fight at the end of Anor and then the final boss fight. It was really nice actually playing. There was I mean, because I was redoing. I'd already done the paint, Anor to a point in my 360 playthrough a long time ago. My Xbox One back compat playthrough. And it was really nice doing the paint, the hidden painting area again, and the things that I'd done again. And it was really cool seeing all those sections again. I'm really keen to play it again, to be honest with you. And it just looks great in 60 frames per second and remastered anyway. And when we got to the final boss, I mean, everything between those 2 fights, everything else was pretty much a fairly easy walk, and a lot of that was to do with the fact that we were the Claymore was plus 15, as I say, so we were taking off a lot of damage. Everything was getting hammered when I was smacking it with that sword, so it was a really good, heads up to those, props to those people who advised me to go for the Claymore a long time ago, because it's a terrific pickup. It really is. I mean, since then, I'll maybe talk about it a bit later, but since then, because we did finish it, and I've got my G's for finishing Dark Souls, we went on and we played a little chunk of Dark Souls 3 with the time that we had left. And I decided, because we didn't know where the Claymore was, or we kind of figured it out a little bit as we went on, so we did get it. I'd actually styled out my character in a different way because I thought, well, I'd like to play it slightly differently. So the character looks the same, but or as same as I could make her, but I went with dexterity from the off, and I think it was the warrior class I went with. It basically meant you were really high in dexterity and lower in strength. But I was, because Aaron had said to me, he said that he played his with the katana, which is a sword you can get right at the beginning if you can manage to beat this guy that's right next to the Firelink shrine. So that's exactly what we did. So I built it for dexterity. Not he wouldn't have picked that build. He would have picked the knight because he likes the option to go whichever way he wants. But I picked that, so I had the dexterity boost. But anyway, so I'm going to go down the katana route in Dark Souls 3. But with Dark Souls, the Claymore was an absolute peach. Aaron found it awkward because it was slow and he'd been used to using the katana. To be fair, the katana's the same. It's got a swing and a thrust, so it's the same thing. It's just that you can get more swipes out of it because you're faster and you can, you shift about. Lighter sword as well. So, we were really fast as well. We managed to get, what's his name? Havel. We got Havel's armor and Havel's ring. And a few of the boss fights we went into, we actually just stuck Havel's armor on and we got nothing could touch it. Oh, there was a few fights actually that were a little bit awkward. There was one in the pitch black, sort of pitch blackness, some sort of void you end up going into when you put the ring on. And that, I basically accomplished that by putting Havel's armor on, which had loads of magic defense, loads of physical defense, and it was just awesome. So you had zero movability. I mean, you were you were just stuck there for not being able to roll or anything. Well, you can, but there's no point. And there was a few boss fights we got through with Havel's armor on. But Havel's ring in the other fights just made for real, because we'd weighed ourselves out so that we were just moving around like lightning. It was brilliant. It was really cool. So I think I ended up with the dung top, which sounds horrible and it probably is, but it had really good stats on it. I ended up with that on with the black leather pants and the black leather arms and the gargoyle helmet is basically what I ended up with, and the claymore. Havel's ring, and we got a ring which, once you put it on, if you take it off, it will break, but it gave you a whole bunch of stats, so we just left that on, and it stayed with me to the end of the game. So there was some terrific gear that we had on. I was so fulfilled when I finished it. I just felt, because I've played that game so many times now and never finished it. I felt really fulfilled and accomplished when I actually got to the end of it, and I felt really confident as well. Even the last boss fight was slightly frustrating, but Aaron had already said to me that the only way he'd managed to beat that boss was using parry. And parry is something that I never used in any of my playthroughs. I think I used it once in the tutorial, and it's like, because I'm so afraid when you miss the parry, you get slaughtered for health when they hit you. But that's exactly how I beat the guy. I went in again. It wasn't as horrendous as you might think. Again, it might have been about maybe, Aaron might correct me here, I was about an hour of going back and forth, because there was a run back to him, of course. Maybe about 10 attempts, something like that, to finish off the final guy. But it was about over an hour maybe, to actually get him done, which I was pretty chuffed with, considering he was probably the toughest one in the game outside of the end of Analondo. And that was really only tough because there was two of them at once. And of course, the boss fight, I don't think you can summon someone in with you, because by that point, spoiler, by that point, the guy that I'd been summoning in for the whole game isn't available anymore anyway, because we, at that point, had his armour and his shield and everything else, which will tell you exactly that he's not in it anymore. Not because I did anything, but he's dead. And, I think we did everything we could, really. I mean, I'm almost positive that there'll be a boss in there that maybe we've not got to or something, but I think we covered nearly all of it, because as I say, we did the one boss Aaron knew that he hadn't done. The only one I didn't fight, which I think I fought in my 360 playthrough and defeated, was the boss at the end of the hidden painting in Analondo, where she goes invisible and you've got her. And I did defeat her eventually in my 360 playthrough, but I left her alone in this one because, to be fair, you feel quite sorry for her because she's not doing any harm. She's just been trapped there and she's just getting on with it. So, I left her to it. So, Yeah, so the final boss, exactly how I beat him was just parry. Aaron just said, look, every time you go in, just practice parrying him. And you know, and that's exactly what I did. And when the time I beat him, I did 4 parries on the bounce, parry, and then when it gives you that, when he goes sort of almost in a slow-mo, and you just hit RB and it just smacks them. It's almost like it's like a shield version of the Father Gascoigne fight in Bloodborne. It's almost exactly the same thing. If you can do your parry maneuver, you just slaughter them for health. And I did 4 of them, and I knew there was only 1 parry left. And I don't know why I said it, but I said to Aaron, I said, oh, 1 more hit and we've done it. I don't know why I said it, because you know the minute you say that sort of stuff while you're playing a game. And sure enough, everything started falling apart. And I think I finally got the last parry on him, and I had this much health. Oh, I thought, the minute I said it, I thought, oh no, I'm not going to do it now. But yeah, but we did, and it felt awesome. So basically, the guy was defeated in 5 hits, because if you can manage 5 parries on the bounce, the guy's dead. And that was it, and the game was over. There was optional endings. You can either light the Firelink Shrine or you can walk away. Sorry, you can either light the fire or walk away, not the Firelink Shrine. And I decided to light it because that's, I think, the proper ending. I think the other one's just kind of the optional, really. And I'm not sure what the ins and outs of it all are, but I think they're as good or bad as each other, really. But it was fantastic, and I feel really chuffed that I've managed to do it. So I'm finding we played Dark Souls 3, but I don't know whether it's unfamiliarity or whether it just is, but I feel navigating around Dark Souls 3 is slightly more confusing to my brain. Just so far as the amount of routes that you seem to be able to take, and there also seems to be a lot of teleporting back, and a bit like Bloodborne, teleporting out of there and going back into here. You know, an area might have 3 different ways to go, and it's remembering that you've only done 2 of them, all that sort of stuff. So it's not, it doesn't. It only becomes game breaking if you can't remember where, and you're just wandering around every area trying to figure out what you've missed. But it's brilliant. It's a really good game. In fact, funnily enough, I found, like, we played Dark Souls Remastered on the Xbox One, and I had Dark Souls 3 on the PlayStation 4 Pro. And I have to say, I found Dark Souls 3 very sticky in comparison to Dark Souls Remastered. Remastered is just so smooth. Now, I grant you that 3 is a next-gen game and there's a lot more going on screen. But it was very sticky. You know, I noticed it immediately the minute I started playing it. It was very sticky. I mean, I'd love to... I don't know. I mean, it's almost like they give us the PC ability to, tame the settings down a little bit or pick what we want. More visuals, less visuals, more... Because I'd prefer to have it in that smooth 60, But I think there might have been a bit of the fact I'd swapped controllers after 2 days of playing on the Xbox One as well. But still terrific, still enjoying it. And that's been it. I've not actually played any of the 2 games since Aaron went, and I finally decided to dive back into Control, which I'm really far into now, just to try and get myself back into it before I forget what the hell's going on and where I'm meant to go and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of played a little bit of that the other night. But I'm really looking forward to doing more Dark Souls at some point, whether it be 3 or whether it be doing a New Game Plus on Remastered or whatever. But so chuffed, so chuffed that I finally finished Dark Souls, people. It's like a... I don't know. It became a quest more than a game by the end of it. I'm going to have another sip of this. Oh, that's good. Cheers to you all. So there you are, that's enough about Dark Souls, eh? Rambled on for how long? 20 minutes about it, people. Well, near enough. Did I mention everything I was going to? Yes, I did. So that brings us on to all the little things I was going to talk about. Playing Control again, I've talked about that. And yeah, well, we've got the last things I wanted to talk about are... Firstly, Naughty Dog announced not a few weeks ago on the PlayStation, whatever it's called, I keep forgetting, the monthly thing that they do where they announce game stuff. And it was a big hoo-ha because everybody was watching it for almost the first time because it had The Last of Us 2 with a launch date coming and all the rest of it on it, or we assumed. So not 2 weeks ago, they tell us it's coming out February the 20th, whatever it was. February. And then Aaron texted me yesterday and he's like, oh yeah, it was the day before yesterday, something like that. He's like, all these rumours saying there's a PlayStation exclusive getting delayed. And I'm like, well, it can't be The Last of Us. I've only just announced it 2 weeks ago. And he's like, yeah, but nothing else has got a date on it. So what else could it be? And I was like, that's a good point. And then sure enough, comes out the woodwork that they've delayed it until May the blah, and it's like, I don't mind, take all the time you need to make the game great. It's fine. But I don't understand why companies feel pressured into giving release dates to something when there's clearly no need to. Like, nobody's going to not buy The Last of Us Part 2 because you didn't give us a release date because we were all badgering you on Twitter or whatever. Just don't give us one. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, I would prefer to get a release date when they've gone gold with the game. When you've gone gold with the game, it's sealed, it's off, it's getting printed, people are getting, it's going out to go to people. There's getting all the major work that then gets done when a game is finished. All right, there might be some patches afterwards that come uploaded. There always is now with games. But when a game goes gold, it's it. They're done. They're finished. They're not doing any more development on it other than patching whatever might not be working appropriately. And give us a date then. Like, don't feel like you've got to give us a date. Like, who bloody cares? Like, I don't care. There's no point in giving out dates because they are never going to be met. So just don't do it. Like, I can't remember the last time a game said it was going to release on a date and actually did from the first time it was mentioned. I mean, maybe Death Stranding, but it waited until a really, really long time in to decide it was going to give its announcement. But they're all doing it. Like, it's just... I mean, it doesn't annoy me as such, but I just don't understand why bother giving us a release date at all. Like, you must have known 2 weeks ago this game was not going to be ready for another 3 months. Like, it's 3 extra months of development time. You can't tell me that just happened over the last 2 weeks. Like, what happened over the last 2 weeks that makes you need another 3 months to finish the game? It's like... what is that all about? I don't know, I don't know. I mean, I'm just a grunt, people. I don't know anything, you know what I mean? Maybe something can creep out the woodwork. It's going to take 3 months to fix, but I can't think what it is. If you've got to a point where you can say, oh, we're ready, right, let's give them a release date for February, which is still 4 months away. At what point does something happen where you need another 3 months to fix something? It's just strange. Very, very odd. Unless they've decided that they want to add something extra in, that they maybe thought, well, it'd be very cool if we could do that at launch rather than, But I just feel like, don't tell us. Like, I know you get badgered senseless. People like Neil Druckmann get badgered senseless on Twitter, saying, when's it out? When's it out? When's it coming? But, that's people, they're not angry at you. They're just desperate to see your game. You don't have to give them a release date. Just leave it until you've gone gold, mate. You know what I mean? And then tell us when it's coming out. That's all you need to do, especially when you're Naughty Dog. You don't need to be teasing people with release dates. We're already super stoked. We're already going to buy the game. You're not going to get extra sales because you announced it when you shouldn't have done. So... I find it odd and bizarre. I mean, I can almost understand it if they give us a release date, I don't know, 5 months ago, and it's due out next month, and they go, crap, we're not ready, and we need another. I mean, but 2 weeks ago, they thought they were ready for February. It's just such a short space of time. It's almost like they just made it up so that everyone would go and watch that weekly thing for the first time in their entire lives because The Last of Us was on. How are we going to get viewers for this thing that nobody watches? Oh, we'll stick The Last of Us on it. We'll put a pretend release date up, and then we'll change it 2 weeks later. It's like, what are you on about? People. I'm going to go on a rant in a minute. What else did we have? Well, yeah, Jedi was single players. Yeah, okay. I had a note here. We're going back to Control because... it was a side conversation with Aaron, actually, and he was telling me, he was saying that Control hadn't actually sold very well. And in fact, Remedy games are always slow burners. I mean, not since Max Payne has there been a game they've done that, or Max Payne 2, or whatever the last one of them they did was, that's maybe been a big hitter, straight away. Alan Wake was a slow burner, and it was an exclusive, but it did manage to break the 1 million barrier at one point. Then, American Nightmare or whatever it was came after that, which wasn't a proper sequel. It was just kind of a spin-off. And they had Quantum Break, which spun along thereafter. And Quantum Break that's been a slow, but to be fair, Quantum Break I don't think did well because of the episodic TV thing on it. It could have been a great game if they'd stuck with the original guy who was cast in the part and not changed him to someone that they felt was TV fit, and just left it with the whole vibe that we got from the very first trailer that we ever got to do with Quantum Break. I think it would have been much more of a success, but it was ruined by the episodic TV stuff that they threw. Nobody wants to sit and watch 20 minutes of a TV series in the middle of playing a game. Like, why would you want to do that? And so I think it was it was something they felt might work and really just didn't. And I think, to be fair, it was because Microsoft were trying to sell this thing that nobody wanted, which was this entertainment box rather than a console. And we all know how catastrophic that was. But what worries me is when a game like Control comes out, which is a terrific game, and it's the closest thing to Alan Wake, Dead Space type stuff that you'll get at the moment, is that people haven't bought it. Therefore, publishers will continue to think that single player story games and third person ones at that are not what people want, and therefore all they're going to build is online multiplayer games or multiplayer games. And I can't tell you how void of single player games my life is. It's just like there's been no Dead Spaces of this generation for me. Control's the closest thing that's come to that. Resident Evil 2 remake, but of that ilk of game, and Resident Evil 2 remake's more linear than Control. Control's a bit more open. And I think the fact that Control was in one build, well, mind you, so is Resident Evil 2. But, I think it's always difficult with a new franchise. People are unsure about it. I'm not overly sure that the main character was strong enough to sell the game. I'm enjoying playing as her, to be fair. There's nothing wrong with the main character as such. But is it a Vavavoom character that will push you to play the game with a Vavavoom story that will, is there copyright in that? Am I allowed to say Vavavoom? But, that's probably the only argument I would put out there, that maybe people have not been drawn in by the lead or the story's too confusing. Personally, I like the fact it's a female lead. I like the girl that's playing the character, or the woman, sorry. And yeah, I don't have any gripes with it, but I'm wondering if it's something that didn't draw people in for marketing purposes or what have you. But it's a terrific game. It's got great mechanics. It's a great looking game. It's got puzzles. It's got action. It's got a really cool weapon. Although you only get one weapon in the game, it turns into many things. And it's very, very, very slick and really cool. And, I'm loving playing it. I suppose the only gripe I've got, I think I mentioned before, was that I can get a little bit lost as to where I'm meant to go sometimes because of the way that it's layered as a building. You find yourself fast traveling a lot rather than moving around. Because to walk, you can walk there, but to go back to certain areas will take you bloody ages. So the fast travel's fine, but the loading screens are heavy. So every time you fast travel, you're going to be sat there for 30 seconds or whatever it is, and it's a bit like being back in old Skyrim again. And I don't know that it lends itself to a game. I think people want a free-flowing game where they don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. But I don't know whether that's a hindrance of the current gen or whether it's a hindrance of using their own engine or what have you. But that's me being very hard on the game. It's a terrific game, and it's been 8 out of 10s pretty much all over the place, 7s or 8s, I think. So my concern really is, and this leads on to my next subject, which is Jedi Fallen Order, which we've talked about in several of my vlogs. That's Aaron Brew messaging me there, people. That's why I was distracted. Jedi Fallen Order we've talked about in several vlogs. I'm really stoked for this game. Every time I see something new about it, it just feels better and better. And I'm really hoping that they've nailed it the way that it looks like they've nailed it. and everything that's coming back from people that are getting, the people that are getting to play it in advance and all this sort of thing. I mean, they're now talking about the fact that if it actually holds up to what they're getting to see, that it could well be a Game of the Year contender. It's that good. You've got the climbing and the puzzle type systems from Uncharted or Tomb Raider. You've got the battling type system from Sekiro / Dark Souls. I mean, all of that just smells perfect to me. That's exactly what I wanted. What I didn't want was a game like, and not that it was a bad game, but the Force Unleashed, which in its day was a great game and it got really good reviews. But I didn't want another platformer Jedi game like that. And this is exactly what I was looking for. If this is what it delivers, if it delivers me a Dark Soulsy / Sekiro-y type game with all of the sort of puzzly type and climbing and jumping around type stuff that an Uncharted gives you, that's right up my bloody alley. And all I can hope for is that the pre-sales and the sales of this game do well, because this is exactly the type of game, as a person who loves single player games like this, is wants more of, and we're not getting enough of them. And the reason we're not getting enough of them is because when people release them, they're not selling enough copies. So I'm hoping, because it's Star Wars, because it's the run up to the last of the trilogy in December, Rise of the Skywalker, I'm hoping with all of that taken into account that people are going to be pre-ordering and getting it on day one and just flying into that game. I really hope it gets good reviews, because that is the very, very, very high profile type game that we need to do well as a single player third person game. Because if we want more of them, we've got to buy them, people. If all people do is buy online games, that's all we're ever going to get. Or co-op games, that's all we're ever going to get. So there you are. I mean, I'm convinced that game's going to do well, because it's Star Wars, because it's a story, because it's the run up to the film, because it's the people that made Titanfall, because it's just, everything about that game is right. I just hope it holds up to the expectation we've now got from all the really cool stuff we've seen so far and heard about from the people that have tried it out. So there you are. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I mean, I've just not had enough of that type of experience on this gen at all. We've had none of it, really, very, very few. So I'm hoping when the PS5s and there's another thing. Right? I'm going to fly back to The Last of Us Part 2. I'm going to be more excited for the PS5 by the time The Last of Us actually comes out. It's like, PS5 is coming out in bloody October. Well, October, November, one or the other. I mean, you can near as damn it guarantee that the Xbox 2 will either come out one of those months. They'll come out a month apart like they did last time. So the Xbox might release end of October and the PlayStation might launch a couple of weeks later in November, or vice versa, something like that, which is what happened last time. So it's going to be really interesting next year. And for me, I talked about this before, and for me, if The Last of Us Part 2 is this late in the cycle, why did you not just make it? If you'd made that a PS5 only game, how many PS5s would you have sold then? I mean, they will sell a lot anyway, but you would have sold a lot more if you could only play The Last of Us Part 2 on a PS5. For damn sure. You know what I mean? You can bet your bottom dollar that you're not going to be playing Halo 6 on an Xbox One. Because Halo 6 is going to be the game that sells the Xbox One. And for me, why not just make The Last of Us Part 2 an Xbox PS5 title and launch with a heavy hitter like Xbox are? Because Xbox have basically taken their biggest franchise and gone back to the basics with it, where it's all about the Master Chief, and thrown it onto a launch. It's a launch title, the Xbox 2 or whatever it's going to be called. So, I think it would have pissed a lot of people off, but from a marketing perspective, from a selling console perspective, absolute genius would have been to just have it launch as a PS5. Not to mention, if you only launch it as a PS5 title, then you can really milk the power of the new system. When you cross-platform like the way they do now, you're never going to get the true power of what you've just moved on to, sadly. So it might end up being a slightly missed opportunity, but it could be that we get a Last of Us at the end of the PS5 as well. You know, given I don't know what Naughty Dog are doing next, but if they're going to make that game a trilogy, we got The Last of Us at the end of the PS3. It was the very last thing that came out. We got it remastered at the beginning-ish of the PS4. And then we got an Uncharted game somewhere in the middle, Uncharted 4. And then we're getting our Last of Us Part 2 at the end of... Now, if that game is to be a trilogy, and I hope that it is, then we may well see at the end of the PS5's era a Last of Us Part 3, which would see it closed off, maybe. But it's such a massive franchise, just after having one go out. One outing, as they would say. Anyway, there you are. I've had my ramble now. That's all I've got to talk about, so I'm going to sit and drink. There you are, folks. That is all I have to say for this particular vlog of mine. I hope some of that was of interest to you. Let me know in the comments below about any of those sorts of things. I know that I'm not doing Let's Play type stuff still at the minute, but I mean, I'm still enjoying doing my vlogs to you. I hope you guys are enjoying them. I do try and pick out subjects if I see them, and I try not to do a vlog for the sake of doing a vlog if I can help it. Unless the sun's out and I do a cheap one on my phone. But it's winter now, people. Bloody storms are brewing. There's a storm coming, Harry. So there you are. That is all I have to talk about. Let me know in the comments below about any of the things I've been talking about. If you want to feedback on any of that, let me know your opinions. We are here, people, to share opinion. And I apologise to those people who have left comments recently that I haven't got back to. I shall reply to you. This very evening, no doubt. And some of you have been posted up a couple of weeks ago. I just haven't got around to it. And I will. I always reply to people. I always do, as long as you're nice. So let me know in the comments below what you think. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you once again in this vlog of mine. And I shall see you all next time. Take it easy, folks. Bye.